Hi, my name is Riley, and I use they, them, theirs pronouns. Until recently, I was a transgender educator in a high school. And unfortunately, because of COVID-19, I was laid off. But because I have a little bit more time, I wanted to take this opportunity to start telling some stories about what it was like to be a transgender educator. So today I'm going to tell you a story about transphobia I experienced from a substitute teacher in the lunchroom. So I went to the lunchroom and I was talking to some of my friends about being transgender. And there was a sub there who we see her fairly often, and I've tried to engage her in conversation before, and she was never like super talkative. She seemed kind of shy and just generally worked through lunch, and so I didn't tend to bother her. But I came in talking about being transgender, and she inserted herself into the conversation, and I was fine with that. It was like, whatever, maybe she doesn't know what I'm talking about, or maybe she does, and maybe we'll have a good conversation. And that's not exactly what happened. She she said, "Wait, what?" And I said, "Oh, okay, so I'm transgender. I identify as non-binary. I use they, them, theirs pronouns." And she's like, "What does that mean?" And I said, "Okay, so it means that I don't identify as a man or a woman. I identify as something in between." And when I describe my gender identity to cis people, like that's the most basic way that I describe it. And it's not entirely true. Sometimes I feel like I don't have a gender, which means agender, or sometimes I feel a little bit more gender fluid where I fall like somewhere in between. Maybe not quite woman, but kind of close, or not quite man, but kind of close. But it's easier if when I talk to cis people to just say it falls in the middle. I'm not a man or a woman. And she seemed pretty confused by that, and then said, "So what are you?" And in response, I explained my identity again in this way, trying to simplify it a little bit more, but basically using similar words. And then she told me, "Well, that's just ridiculous." And at this point, I'm laughing uncomfortably, like I don't want to deal with this during my lunch break. And so I finish heating up my food and I say, "I'm eating somewhere else." And I leave and I go eat in my classroom. And my friends, who are really horrified by how I was being treated by this substitute teacher, followed me. And so that was good. People kept coming into my room during lunch, being like, "What's going on? Like, why are you here, not in the lunchroom?" And so I explained to them what had happened. And ironically, this was either the day or the day after I had sent a document to the administration about microaggressions and transphobia I was experiencing from coworkers in preparation for a training from a local queer organization. So obviously I told them about this situation as well and what had just happened in the lunchroom. And so then the next day, I go into the lunchroom and I put my keys down on the table, and the substitute teacher walks in and sits down. And as soon as I'm done heating up my lunch, I move my keys to the other table and sit there instead. And then everyone who was planning on sitting at the table with that substitute teacher also moved to go sit with me. I felt kind of bad about this because I don't want to exclude people and I don't want to ignore people. Um, and and it's just really frustrating to me. Like, I wish someone would have sat with her, and at the same time, I didn't want to be that person because she had called my identity ridiculous. She disrespected me at one of the cores of who I am and didn't seem open to having a conversation about it. And her reaction showed me that she doesn't think my identity exists. So I didn't want to sit down and educate her about that. I have one 45-minute break during the day. I taught 6 periods of English, and lunch was the only break where I didn't have to do education, where I didn't have to do anything except be with my friends and eat my lunch and take care of myself. So I wasn't going to subject myself to transphobia during my lunch break. And I know it's hard because I hate this, and it feels like I'm back in high school or back in middle school and we're excluding the person we don't like, but this goes beyond just not liking someone. This person has really disrespected me and isn't going to own up to her behavior and doesn't want to. She called me ridiculous, and I'm glad that my friends had my back and wanted to sit with me. And at the same time, I wish she wasn't excluded completely. In an ideal world, someone would have sat down and talked to her and said, look, you can't make people uncomfortable this way. You need to respect people for who they are, regardless of what you think about their identity. But I didn't feel like I could be the one to do that, because I just wanted to have a peaceful lunch so I could take care of myself, so I could be there for my students for the next 3 periods of the day. So I hope this story was interesting to you. Like, share, and subscribe. You can hit the notification bell if you want. I'm hoping to make more videos like this about being trans in education, and maybe about some other topics too. Maybe I'll even talk about some books. I love books. And I miss teaching them too. I really miss teaching books. All right. Hopefully I'll see you all soon. I'll definitely respond to comments and emails and things like that. I made an email just for this account, so so I'm excited to start this journey with all of you. See y'all later.